Two lives colliding in the dim, sweat-drenched haze of a Thal village gym, where the clank of iron plates against rusted racks reverberated like the opening salvo of a personal revolution. One a boy forged in the crucible of a Nazi father's belt and a brother's unreachable shadow. The other a relentless colossus who would bend iron, silver screens, and entire statehouses to his iron will, yet leave behind a scorched trail of shattered trusts, secret sons, and scandals that detonated louder than any blockbuster explosion he ever survived. One is sent from the fog-choked valleys of post-war Austria to the sun-blasted peaks of Mr. Olympia, Hollywood Olympus, and Sacramento's governor's mansion that seemed scripted by a god drunk on ambition, only to implode in 2011 when a housekeeper's hidden child cracked the perfect family facade wide open, forcing the world to confront the human wreckage of a hunger that devoured everything in its path. But as the dust settled over the ruins of that Brentwood empire, with Maria Shriver vanishing through the wrought iron gates like a Kennedy ghost fleeing daylight and the tabloid vultures circling overhead, Arnold Schwarzenegger finally sat beneath unforgiving studio lights that once flattered his delts but now carved every line of regret into his face, his Austrian accent rolling like thunder over broken glass as he confessed words that hung heavier than any 500-pound squat. Asterisk, I had affairs. Plural. I lied to everyone, including myself. Denied it over and over because it always worked until the day it didn't. The maid's boy, my son, Joseph. I saw myself in his face at 8, and I hid him for 14 years because admitting it would destroy the life I built. Asterisk. Tonight, on Tales of the Famous, we plunge into the gray mist of 1947 Thal, where a newborn's cry pierced the silence of a home still haunted by Stalingrad's ghosts, and we surge forward to the oil-slick stages of 1967 London, where a 20-year-old phenom posed under blinding lights that turned sweat into liquid gold, claiming thrones his rivals could only dream of touching. We slip into the velvet-draped bedrooms of 1970s Beverly Hills, where girlfriends like Barbara Baker learned the bitter price of loving a man who treated fidelity like an optional rep. And we explode into the fluorescent glare of Sacramento press rooms, where groping allegations collided with heroic lifeguard rescues to forge a governor as contradictory as the state he ruled. We linger in the hushed opulence of a Brentwood mansion, where a housekeeper labored with a master's child mere days before his wife gave birth to their fourth, the two women exchanging polite nods in hallways that concealed a secret explosive enough to topple dynasties. And we confront the courtroom echoes of a career built on denial, where every denial worked. Until the DNA did. Stay until the final, gut-wrenching reflection that peels back every layer of the man who growled. I'll be back to reveal not a cartoon villain or flawless hero, but a human engine of conquest whose fuel was ego and whose exhaust was the wreckage of those who loved him most. Because this is not merely the biography of a bodybuilder turned movie monster turned politician who conquered 3 worlds in one lifetime. It is the dissection of ambition's dark underbelly where greatness devours the great and the good alike. The catalog of conquests paid in the currency of human trust, and the unflinching truth that the boy who lifted iron to lift himself out of Austria's shadows lifted an entire generation with him, only to drop the ones closest when the weight became too much to bear. And so the story begins in the fog-shrouded village of Thal, Styria, where the Alps loomed like silent judges over rooftops still pockmarked by Allied bombs, and the air carried the faint, acrid reminder of wartime smoke that never fully dissipated, and a baby boy entered the world on July 30th, 1947, in a modest home that smelled of boiled cabbage, fresh bread, and the unspoken regrets of a family clinging to normalcy in a nation picking up its shattered pieces. Asterisk, asterisk, Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger, asterisk, asterisk. Born to Gustav, local police chief whose chest swelled with iron crosses earned on the frozen hell of the Eastern Front, and Aurelia, a quiet homemaker whose endurance masked the bruises blooming under long sleeves like secret maps of survival. This was no idyllic childhood of bicycle races through meadows alive with wildflowers or lazy afternoons swimming in crystal streams. It resembled more a boot camp orchestrated by a drill sergeant whose definition of discipline was the sharp crack of a belt across bare skin whenever a boy stepped out of line. A home where meals were rationed, not just by post-war scarcity, but by a father's moods that could turn the dinner table into an interrogation chamber. From this crucible of cruelty emerged a boy who learned early that love was conditional and strength was the only currency that mattered. And so when Gustav, demobilized in 1943 after malaria felled him amid Stalingrad's carnage, a battle that claimed millions and left survivors with ghosts that whispered in their sleep, carried his Nazi party pin from 1938 like a talisman of twisted pride. His authoritarian streak transformed fatherhood into a test of wills where affection was doled out in grudging nods rather than hugs. Favoritism festered like an untreated wound from the moment Arnold drew breath. Older brother Meinhard, the athlete who mirrored Gustav's own youth with his soccer prowess and easy compliance, received praise that Arnold chased like a mirage in the desert, leaving the younger boy to forge his sense of worth in solitude, in the mirror, in the cold burn of muscles pushed to failure. Yet beneath the beatings that left welts rising like storm clouds on pale Austrian skin and the constant comparisons that cut deeper than any lash, Arnold harbored a fierce, unspoken love for his mother Aurelia, the one soft light in a house where warmth was as scarce as meat on the plate, and Gustav's paranoia, a nod at the family, like termites in the foundation. He accused Aurelia of infidelity with a venom that poisoned every conversation, casting perpetual doubt on Arnold's very paternity. A shadow the boy internalized not as victimhood, but as fuel for a fire that would one day illuminate stadiums from London to Sydney. Money was scarcer than mercy in that post-war household. The family celebrated the arrival of their first refrigerator like the second coming, a humming white box of frozen dreams in a kitchen where meals were stretched thinner than Gustav's patience. Every slice of bread a small victory against hunger's gnaw. And then, as if the universe sensed a soul too vast for such confinement and too restless to be contained by village horizons, a 13-year-old Arnold followed his soccer coach into the dimly lit confines of Thal's local gym, a concrete bunker where the clank of iron plates against rusted racks sounded like the gates of freedom slamming open, and the air hung heavy with the metallic tang of sweat mingled with chalk dust. And football, with its team demands and shared glory, faded overnight like a childhood dream too small for the man he sensed growing inside. Bodybuilding became his religion, his rebellion, his roadmap out. And by 14, he was sneaking into locked gyms on weekends when the owner turned the key, veins bulging under bare bulbs as he curled barbells until his biceps screamed for mercy and his forearms trembled like leaves in a gale, dreaming not of local trophies but of Mr. Universe stages where the world would bow to a physique sculpted from nothing but will and 300 daily sit-ups. This obsession bordered on mania that would alarm therapists today. He slept with anatomy charts pinned above his bed like sacred icons, devoured imported magazines featuring Reg Park like forbidden scripture smuggled across borders, and trained with a fervor that made grown men in the gym shake their heads in a mixture of awe and concern, whispering that the boy lifted not just weights, but the weight of his father's disdain. Local dynamophily contests fell first, then junior Mr. Europe titles that tasted like validation poured over open wounds, but Arnold's eyes fixed unblinkingly on the horizon. Mr. Universe, the absolute pinnacle where gods were crowned in oil and posing trunks, and mere mortals learned to worship symmetry. And so in 1966, at 19, Arnold boarded his first plane, the roar of engines vibrating through his bones like the promise of escape as the patchwork fields of Austria shrank below and London unfurled ahead like a city built for conquest. And though he placed second to the more experienced Chester Yorton, Judge Wag Bennett saw the future gleaming in those cannonball delts and tree trunk quads, offering not just coaching but a cot above his modest London gym, a lifeline Arnold seized with the desperation of a drowning man. He crashed in cramped quarters where English lessons unfolded between sets of heavy squats, living on canned tuna, rice, and unyielding wool while Reg Park, seven-time Mr. Universe, his idol made flesh, became mentor, friend, and living blueprint, his routines tattooed on Arnold's soul like commandments carved in marble. 1 year later, 1967, youngest Mr. Universe ever at 20, posing under blinding lights that turned rivulets of sweat into liquid diamonds cascading over peaks and valleys of muscle. The crowd's roar washing away every belt mark, every slight, every dollarless night as the Austrian Oak claimed his throne and the world began to take notice of the boy who refused to stay small. But glory's shadow lengthened even as the lights grew brighter, and women entered the frame like spotlights Arnold couldn't resist, drawn to his physique like moths to a flame that burned hotter with every contest win. And in 1969, Barbara Outland Baker, soft-eyed English teacher with a steady hand and a laugh that cut through gym noise, became his first serious girlfriend. Captivated by the adventurous charisma of a Mr. Universe who made her feel like the center of an expanding universe where every date ended with stories of conquests that left her breathless. At first, he was the ideal partner, spontaneous road trips through California's canyons, laughter that filled modest apartments, a body sculpted like Michelangelo's David, but animated with a smile that disarmed even the most guarded hearts. Yet cracks spiderwebbed across their foundation as his ego ballooned with every trophy presentation, conversations circling back inexorably to mirrors, measurements, and the next pump that would make him larger than life. And then 1971 struck like a 500-pound squat barbell dropped on toes during a max attempt. Brother Meinhard, the favored golden child whose ease with their father Arnold could never replicate, died in a drunk driving crash, leaving fiancée Erica Knapp and 3-year-old son Patrick fatherless in a world that suddenly felt colder, and Arnold skipped the funeral, a decision heavy with the unspoken distance forged in Gustav's favoritism and their own sibling rivalry. But he stepped up where blood demanded it, sponsored Patrick's immigration to America at age 8, funded his education through law school, watched him grow into a successful attorney whose last name carried the Schwarzenegger legacy without craving the spotlight, a quiet atonement for a brotherhood that never fully bloomed. A year later, Gustav succumbed to a stroke at 65, his body finally betraying the man who had betrayed so many with his rigid code, and Arnold skipped that funeral too, explanations shifting over decades. From logistical impossibilities to unresolved rage bubbling like lava beneath a volcano's crust. But Barbara's 2012 memoirs, Arnold. Her side painted a chilling portrait of the immediate aftermath. No tears when he learned of the stroke. No eulogy penned in the quiet hours, just a cold detachment that chilled her to the bone and made her wonder if the boy she loved had buried his capacity for grief under layers of muscle and metals. The losses piled like plates on a power rack in the corner of a dimly lit garage gym, and Arnold buried them deeper with every rep, every contest, every mirror glance that affirmed his transformation from neglected son to emerging god. But unresolved ghosts clawed their way back from the grave in the 1990s, when rumors of Gustav's Nazi depth gnawed at Arnold like acid on chrome. And he commissioned the Simon Wiesenthal Center to sift through yellowed archives and faded service records, breath, held as researchers unearthed party membership from 1938 and frontline service, but no direct hand in the Holocaust horrors. Relief washed over him like a post-workout pump. Gustav was flawed, authoritarian, absent, but not a monster in the camps. Yet the beatings lingered in memory, hair pulled until roots screamed, belts cracking across backs with a rhythm as predictable as sunrise, fuel for a boy who vowed never to be small, never to be overlooked, never to let the world define his worth. Barbara endured the metamorphosis from charming boyfriend to self-absorbed star whose world revolved around posing oils and protein shakes. But by 1974 the scales tipped irrevocably, infidelity whispers becoming shouts. She learned of only post-breakup, the sting sharper for the delay and the pattern it revealed. And Arnold's conquest continued unchecked. A 1977 After Dark photo shoot posing nude for a gay magazine that shocked even his inner circle, proving no boundary was sacred when attention was the drug. Yet their paths crossed again decades later. He spent 3 hours with her, as she wrote those revealing memoirs, reliving highs and lows with the detached curiosity of a man who viewed relationships as closed chapters in an autobiography he alone authored. 1977 brought Beverly Hills hair assistant Sue Moray into the orbit. Their open arrangement, a pragmatic truce born of Arnold's wanderlust. He freed to roam on out-of-town trips for contests or photo shoots, exclusive in L.A., where Sue's steady presence grounded his chaos, and it suited the beast within, a compromise that kept the peace until Maria Shriver shattered it. August 1977, Robert F. Kennedy tennis tournament in New York. The Kennedy dynasty journalist, elegant with a mind like a stiletto and eyes that saw through facades, captivated him during what was meant to be a vacation fling under the summer sun, and back in L.A. he juggled with the finesse of a one-arm curl. Sue in one hand, Maria's transatlantic letters in the other, promises whispered in hotel rooms between flights. Sue reached her breaking point, issued the ultimatum that echoed through every Arnold story. Her or the Kennedy. He chose the path to Camelot, wedding Maria April 26, 1986, at St. Francis by the Sea, for children to follow. Catherine Eunice, 1989, Christina Maria, 1991, Patrick Arnold, 1993, Christopher, 1997, a picture-perfect family that masked the fault lines already forming. 1980, one last bodybuilding hurrah before Hollywood's siren call, and prepping for Conan the Barbarian, Arnold entered Mr. Olympia unannounced, arrived as commentator, winked at the crowd with that trademark grin before stripping to trunks and oil, and won amid deafening roars. 7th Olympia title, but controversy erupted like a Ms. loaded barbell. Rivals cried favoritism. Mike Mincer retired in disgust, claiming judges favored narrative over condition. Steroids? Arnold admitted freely in interviews, just tools to hold mass while cutting, like vitamins for champions. 70s attitudes shrugged, 90s headlines didn't. German doctor Willy Hillemeyer predicted early death from abuse. Globe tabloid piled on. Arnold sued both, won $10,000 from Hillemeyer and settlement from Globe. Laughing, if national news predicts my demise without an exam, I'll outlive them all. Hollywood awaited with open arms and bigger budgets. And Hercules in New York, 1970, became a dubbed accent camp classic, Stay Hungry, 1976. Earned a Golden Globe for newcomer where charm eclipsed the plot. Pumping Iron, 1977, saw charisma devour Lou Ferrigno whole. Conan the Barbarian, 1982, unleashed the barbarian icon and the Terminator. 1984, birthed Hasta La Vista, Baby. Rivalry with Sylvester Stallone ignited. Rambo vs. Commando, body counts escalating, explosions one-upping each other in a macho arms race that packed multiplexes and minted fortunes. Maria endured the whirlwind. 1997 open-heart surgery hidden from her until the scalpel loomed. Governor ambitions announced days before public reveal, leaving her reeling as their life upended. Yet she stood by him through the 2003 recall election bombshell on The Tonight Show, the bodybuilder actor running California's chaos. Skeptics scoffed at the accent, the outsider status. Voters embraced Governator. Landslide win. Groping allegations surfaced 5 days pre-election. 6 women detailing unwanted advances, lewd comments. Arnold admitted inappropriate behavior, apologized vaguely, one bigger. Heroics sealed affection. 2004 Hawaii vacation. Swam out to save drowning man. Dragged him ashore like a scene from his own script. Refused $175,000 salary. Taxpayers' money stays with taxpayers. Pardoned Esteban Nunez, son of political ally Fabian Nunez. In 2010, commuting 16-year manslaughter sentence to 7. Backlash brewed as favoritism stench lingered. 2011, separation announced May 9th, and truth detonated a week later. Asterisk LA Times asterisk revealed affair with housekeeper Patty Baena, son Joseph born October 2nd, 1997, mere days after Christopher. Baena worked the home during both pregnancies, polite nods in hallways hiding the secret. Arnold knew by Joseph's 8th birthday. Uncanny resemblance undeniable. but denied, compartmentalized, until Shriver confronted after buy-in is spilled. Bridget Nielsen admitted Red Sonja affair. Pattern: denial is superpower. I lied because it worked, Arnold told CBS. Until it didn't. Maria's pain. Ultimatum ignored. Secrets piled like scripts unread. Arnold rebuilt. Films, climate activism, Joseph's public embrace. From Thal's fog to Sacramento's sun, his hunger devoured all, family included. Worth it? History judges, but the wreckage whispers no. Like if ambitions cost haunts forever. Share with the dreamer, ignoring the toll. Subscribe plus bell for icons unmasked. This is Tales of the Famous. The pumps fade. The truth endures.